Let's get right into it. Number 12, the traffic jam at the top. Mount Everest is the only place on Earth where dying in a line is considered normal. Imagine this. You're at nearly 29,000 feet. Your brain is running on fumes. Every step feels like dragging your body through wet cement. And then traffic, actual traffic. Humans clipped into ropes, standing still, waiting their turn. In an environment that actively wants you unconscious. This is one of the most infamous and avoidable causes of death on Everest. Not avalanches, not storms, waiting. Your body cannot idle at that altitude. The death zone isn't a nickname, it's a biological deadline. Above 8,000 meters, your body is slowly dying no matter what you do. Standing still speeds that up dramatically. But here's the psychology trap, sunk cost fallacy. Climbers have spent years training, tens of thousands of dollars and months on the mountain. When the summit is right there, turning around feels impossible. Even when the math says you won't survive the descent. So people wait. Oxygen runs low, fingers go numb. Judgment dissolves. And the mountain quietly starts collecting names. Basically, Everest doesn't kill you fast. It lets your ambition do it for you. Number 11. Running out of oxygen and pretending it's fine. Supplemental oxygen on Everest is treated like a convenience instead of what it actually is. Life support. At extreme altitude, your brain is starving. Logic, memory, and self-awareness start malfunctioning. Climbers have removed gloves because they felt annoying. Taken off masks because they didn't need them. Sat down to rest and simply never stood back up. Hypoxia lies to you. That's the real danger. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't scream. It convinces you everything is okay while your cognitive abilities quietly shut down. Some of the worst Everest deaths happened with oxygen tanks nearby. Sometimes empty, sometimes malfunctioning, sometimes simply unused because the climber misjudged reality. And once your brain crosses a certain threshold, self-rescue becomes impossible. You don't panic, you don't fight, you just fade. Basically, Everest doesn't steal oxygen. It waits for your brain to decide you don't need it. Number 10. Summit fever overrides survival. There's a point on Everest where reaching the top becomes more important than staying alive. This is called summit fever, and it's one of the most documented psychological failures in extreme environments. When the goal is close, your brain narrows its focus so aggressively that it filters out danger, exhaustion, and even basic bodily signals. Climbers push past turnaround times, ignore worsening weather, step over people in distress because helping them would mean abandoning the summit. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Many deaths didn't happen on the way up. They happened on the way down, after the photos, after the victory. When energy was gone and the mountain was done negotiating. Everest doesn't care if you touch the top. It only cares if you can leave it. Basically, the summit is optional. Coming back isn't. And too many people forget which one matters. Number 9. Getting caught in weather that wasn't supposed to exist. Everest weather doesn't follow promises, or forecasts, or optimism. Some of the deadliest moments on the mountain came from storms that arrived earlier, stronger or stranger than predicted. Climbers trusted schedules. The mountain changed the terms. At high altitude, storms don't just bring cold. They bring blindness, disorientation, and time loss. Wind erases tracks, snow hides ropes, landmarks vanish. And suddenly experienced climbers are wandering in circles above 8,000 meters, where wandering is a death sentence. The psychology trap here is authority bias. If the forecast said clear, your brain resists accepting new evidence. You keep going. You assume conditions will improve. You delay the decision to retreat until retreat is no longer an option. Many Everest deaths occurred because people waited for the mountain to be reasonable. It never is. Basically, Everest doesn't break the weather rules. It reveals that they were never rules. Number 8. Exhaustion that no one can fix. There is a special kind of tired on Everest that sleep does not cure. Above the death zone, your body cannot recover. Muscles degrade. Organs strain. Calories stop converting into usable energy. Every step costs more than you can afford. Some climbers reach a point where they are technically alive, conscious, and doomed. They want to keep moving, but their body simply refuses to respond. The tragedy here is that exhaustion looks survivable from the outside. Other climbers see someone sitting, resting, breathing. But lifting them, dragging them, or carrying them at that altitude is physically impossible. So people are left behind. Not because no one cared, but because physics said no. Basically, Everest doesn't require a dramatic accident. It only needs you to get too tired. Number 7. The slow slide into hypothermia. Hypothermia on Everest doesn't feel like freezing to death. It feels like relief. As your core temperature drops, pain fades. Confusion increases. You start making comforting, fatal decisions like removing layers, sitting down, or thinking you're warm enough. Climbers have been found without gloves, jackets, or boots, not because they lost them, but because their brain told them to take them off. Your mind betrays you long before your body shuts down. Judgment dissolves. Willpower softens. You stop fighting. Many Everest deaths involved people who could have survived if they had kept moving for just a little longer. But hypothermia convinced them they didn't need to. Basically, the cold doesn't overpower you. It persuades you. Number 6. Falling isn't dramatic, it's final. When people imagine Everest deaths, they picture avalanches or storms. In reality, one of the most common killers is a simple slip. At extreme altitude, balance is compromised. Oxygen-starved brains misjudge steps. Fatigue turns minor mistakes into irreversible ones. And Everest is not generous with guardrails. A misstep on a narrow ridge doesn't lead to a heroic struggle. It leads to silence. Slopes are steep enough that once you start sliding, you don't stop. Ropes help until they don't. The brutal part? Many fatal falls happened in good weather, on established routes, during descent, when climbers thought the danger was mostly behind them. Basically, Everest doesn't need chaos, it just needs gravity. Number 5. Abandonment isn't cruel, it's math. This is the part people struggle with emotionally. Climbers pass dying people on Everest. Sometimes they help, sometimes they can't. Sometimes they don't even stop. At that altitude, helping another person can mean killing yourself. You cannot lift a fully grown adult in the death zone. You cannot spare oxygen without risking your own brain. You cannot delay without increasing your odds of not coming back. So people make impossible decisions, and later they're judged from sea-level couches. The psychology here is survival triage. When resources are insufficient, choices become brutal. Not because climbers are heartless, but because Everest enforces arithmetic, not morality. Basically, the mountain doesn't allow heroism, only survival. Number 4. Disorientation makes the mountain lie. High-altitude cerebral edema turns Everest into a hallucination generator. Swelling in the brain causes confusion, loss of coordination, and false confidence. Climbers walk past camps, miss fixed ropes, head in the wrong direction convinced it's right. The mountain doesn't change, your perception does. Some climbers who died weren't trapped or injured, they were simply lost within sight of safety. The path was there, their brain couldn't process it. This is one of the cruelest Everest killers because it steals agency. The person doesn't know they're making fatal choices. Basically, the mountain stays honest. Your brain doesn't. Number 3. The descent is where most people die. Reaching the summit feels like winning. Your brain checks the box. Dopamine hits. Mission accomplished. Your body, however, is worse than it's ever been. Most Everest deaths don't happen on the way up. They happen after the photos, after the hugs, after the mental relief. Energy is gone. Oxygen is low. Focus is shattered. And now you have to go down, which requires just as much attention, if not more. Down climbing is technically harder. Knees are shot. Muscles shake. Balance is unreliable. One misplaced step on the descent ends everything you worked for. The psychology failure here is cognitive collapse. Once the goal is achieved, your brain relaxes its grip on caution. But Everest punishes relaxation immediately. Basically, the summit is a celebration. The descent is the bill. Number 2. Rescue isn't guaranteed or sometimes even possible. People assume that on Everest, help will come. Sometimes it does, often it can't. Helicopters can't reliably reach the highest camps. Weather shuts everything down instantly. Sherpas risk their lives every time they assist someone, and even they have limits. Some climbers who died were not alone. They were surrounded by others who physically could not save them. This is where expectation becomes deadly. If you believe rescue is likely, you push further. You take risks you shouldn't. You assume someone else will fix it. Everest doesn't offer that safety net. Above a certain height, you are on your own in the most literal sense possible. Basically, Everest is not a team sport once things go wrong. Number 1. Everest never changed, humans did. This is the uncomfortable truth behind the worst deaths in Everest's history. The mountain didn't get deadlier. Access got easier. Numbers went up. Experience levels went down. Pressure increased, schedules tightened, crowds formed. Everest stayed exactly the same. Many of the worst deaths happened not because climbers were reckless, but because the system around them normalized danger. When everyone is pushing, stopping feels weak. When success is marketed, failure feels unacceptable. The mountain doesn't care about trends, permits, money, or motivation. It only responds to physics, altitude, and human limits. Basically, Everest isn't a villain, it's a constant. And the people who died weren't foolish. They were human, in a place that punishes humanity relentlessly. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.